I am betting the win total, the division odds, the coach of the year, and two long shots for this NFC North team for the 2024 NFL season. And welcome to my new YouTube page. My name is Peter Apple, and on this channel, you're going to find all of my futures and my week-to-week NFL best bets for the 2024 NFL season and beyond. And in this video, I'm going to explain why I am all in on the Detroit Lions for this NFL season. I was already interested in backing the Lions in 2024 after I watched this incredible 12-win season unfold. Then the playoffs began, and this team proved that it can beat anybody and was just inches away from the Super Bowl. And after a fantastic offseason, a schedule that fits their needs beautifully, I think the Lions have massive upside for the 2024 NFL season. So what we're going to do is go through their schedule. We're going to talk about the offense, the defense, the coaching, and then I'm going to give you an overall outlook on the Detroit Lions. Let's talk about the schedule, because according to Sharp Football Analysis, the Lions have the 21st ranked strength of schedule. This places them in the middle of the pack, where you got about the 12th hardest schedule out of 32 teams. It's a first place schedule. And while the quality of their opponents is definitely a factor here, I think what's more crucial and what's more important to me is the location of these games, where the Lions have a clear strategic advantage. The Lions have a significant offensive advantage this year, with 9 home games instead of 8, and 14 of their 17 games in totality indoors. This is a game changer for the Lions offense. Looking back at their previous schedules, they have never had this many games in a dome, making this year particularly exciting for the Lions. The Lions start hot. They have 7 straight games in a dome and are only underdogs once they play the Cowboys on the road in week 6. And you know that the Lions are going to be looking for revenge after they got their 13th win from last year stolen from the Cowboys. We all remember that, whatever. I think all Lions fans understand that they deserve that win. The Lions also have a bye before that week 6 game, and I think they win and improve to 6-0. And overall, the Lions are favorites in all but 4 games on the road against the Cowboys. They're +1 against the Packers on the road. They're +1.5 against the Texans on the road, +1.5. And I assume the 49ers, I haven't seen the line, but the 49ers are at home late in the season. I assume they might be the favorite at home. I think that's a good idea. 2 of those games that we just mentioned where they are underdogs, they are in a dome. They play Green Bay early on, so it's not going to be freezing yet. So if you're going to play the Packers on the road, let it be early in the season, which they do. And then that last game against the 49ers, that's in sunny California in December. These are all winnable games, and Goff, he won't have to freeze in any of them. This Lions offense, behind Goff, indoors, outdoors, wildly different. Jared Goff indoors, passer rating over 100. Completion percentage, 69%. 7.9 yards per pass, 23-8 touchdown interception ratio. And look at what he is outdoors. Passer rating drops, completion percentage drops, yards per pass, everything is much worse. And now, while the NFC North obviously is a bit scary with Jordan Love taking over the Packers and the Bears revamped offense, but I'm also very, very low on the Vikings. There's a potential I might take a position on the win total yet. I haven't fully decided. I want to watch more training camp for them. But if we're looking at the Bears, historical rookie QB trends generally are working against them. The Lions probably split with the Packers, but I can easily see that being their lone division loss. At the most, I see 2 losses in this division. Sure, give one to the Bears or give one to the Vikings. The NFC just isn't that strong, and with the Lions being indoors so consistently, they're going to have a leg up on almost every team they play. And now let's look at the offense. This team is loaded at every single position. They have arguably the best offensive line in the league. PFF even ranked them number 1. And that's led by Penei Sewell, who is as good as any offensive lineman in the entire NFL. They also, I think, might have the best backfield in the NFL with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Then they have a top 10 wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, a top 5 tight end in Sam Laporta. Everywhere you look is elite, especially if Jamison Williams can really take that next step. And he's a player that head coach Dan Campbell has been raving about in camp. So if he's unlocked at all, just watch out. This was the 8th best offense by EPA per play last year, and now they're going to be in a consistently better environment. I expect them to be in the top 5 all season long. And as stated earlier, this offense is clearly a lot better in a dome, and now they get 14 of their 17 games this year in a incredible environment for offense. So let's talk about the defense, because that is the imperfect unit on this team. But the thing is, they pounced on their inefficiencies this offseason and built a really inspiring defense. They brought in DJ Reader, who is PFF's 11th best interior defender, to join Alan McNeil, PFF's 7th graded interior defender. The Lions' rush defense was already top 5 last year in EPA per play. So then you add DJ Reader, who was, again, PFF's 9th best interior lineman against the run. This is going to elevate this group to, I think, near the top of the league. And I think it's really because I freaking love DJ Reader. I think he is one of the NFL's most underrated interior defensive linemen. Ask a Bengals fan what he did for their run defense. There were games where I didn't bet on the Bengals because DJ Reader wasn't in. That's how much I think that he impacts the ground game. Now, we know that they got good linebackers. They obviously have a great defensive line with Aiden Hutchinson, of course. I was just talking about the newcomers. We know how good Aiden Hutchinson is. But they needed to address this secondary. They ranked 28th in dropback EPA per play, and they worked this offseason to fix it, and I think they did a fantastic job. They really needed to address cornerback in this draft after losing Cam Sutton. So what did they do? Well, they go get Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama, a year after grabbing Alabama DP Brian Branch, who has been fantastic for them at safety. They also added Carlton Davis, who Jamar Chase actually called the toughest corner he's ever faced. Now, Carlton Davis, is he the best corner in the league? No, but he's clearly a good cornerback. And they also added Amik Robertson from the Raiders, who's coming off a really good season for them. Not to mention their second rounder was also a cornerback out of Missouri. So the one area of concern, the part of the defense that really burned them last year, was the secondary. And what did they do? They spent all offseason, whether it was through trades, free agency, or the draft, shoring up that unit. And going into this year, it looks like one of the better secondaries in the league. Now, this is the best defense Jared Goff has ever had as currently constructed, and I love this Lions plan. They knew their weaknesses, and then they addressed them immediately. Now, let's talk about the coaching, because Ben Johnson's decision to stay in this offense is massive. He was a guy who I thought, all right, I'm going to go back that team who hires him as their head coach or potentially offensive coordinator. The OC, I think, is just ahead of its time. And I think his decision to stay with the Lions spoke volumes about what the coaching staff led by Dan Campbell is trying to do. They want to win in Detroit. And if it's going to be any year, I think it's going to be this one. Now, let's talk about the overall outlook. I don't see a loss until potentially week 6 against the Cowboys indoors, but I'll probably bet on the Lions in that game to exact revenge. Anything can happen, obviously, but look at their schedule. Maybe they lose week 9 against the Packers on the road. They're pretty much favored in every game except those 2 through week 9, and both of those games are winnable. I think the Lions have a very good shot at starting the season 8-0 and go on to finish, I counted 13-4 based on this schedule. I think they should have won 13 last year, and 13 wins was the highest of any team in the NFL last year. I love this team, this coaching staff, this schedule, everything about the Lions this year. It's the best team they've ever had. Historical stats show that they are much better in domes, and they have 14 of their 17 games. So I'm betting over 10.5 wins for 2 units. I'm betting them to win the NFC North for a unit. I bet Dan Campbell, coach of the year, at 33-1. Now, I know that that number has moved, but anything over 20-1, I think, is a very good bet, because when I look at the Lions overall season, if they go on this crazy run and let's say they go 14-3, 13-4, is it going to be Goff getting MVP, or is it going to be Dan Campbell getting coach of the year? I personally think it'd be Dan Campbell. I feel like he's just the bigger personality in the room. Like, more people associate Dan Campbell with the Lions over Jared Goff, which is not necessarily Goff's fault, but I just think that's where the media might gravitate towards. But if you want to grab a Jared Goff MVP ticket, like, nobody's going to stop you. I also bet the Detroit Lions last undefeated team at 7-1. little sprinkle there at a half unit. Not really a sprinkle. A half unit's kind of decent, but I don't see where the losses are going to come in. I really don't. And you tie all this together, I'm betting on them to have the best record in the NFL at 10-1. Now, that's a little bit. That's just 0.2 units, but I'm buying almost everything on the Lions this year. I think they have the quarterback that can get them there. I think the skill positions are elite. I think the offensive line, like if we're built from the trenches out, defensive line, offensive line is as good of a combination as any team in the NFL. The one weakness was the secondary. They did everything this offseason to help it. And then the schedule and in the dome games, I'm all over the Lions. And remember, folks, we are brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Highly recommend. You want all books at your disposal so you can get the best line. And this code gets you that first bet offer, $1,500 back in bonus bets if your wager was to lose. It's an absolute no-brainer. You can find the code down there. Just Gridiron is the code. Use that one. So greatly appreciate everybody listening. And if you have yet to subscribe yet, this is my new NFL YouTube channel where you're going to find all of my futures, all of my week-to-week NFL best bets. So sit back, relax, let me feed you winners all NFL season long. And let me know in the comment section, do you agree? Do you disagree? You tailing? You're fading? I would love to get a conversation going in that comment section. So I appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you back for the next video.